first and foremost, though, socks versus ties versus watches. I don't see a watch.
I do not wear a watch. You don't wear a watch either. Oh, interesting. See?
Not watch guys.
Not watch
That's why
guys.
we get along so
That
well.
is why we get along. But there are watch guys out there that are still good guys. It's just not my thing.
Nothing wrong with watch guys.
No.
There's nothing wrong with a watch.
Right, but you do rock the tie. It's a very nice tie.
But everyone's got a phone. So I don't know why we need watches.
Well, if you need a watch only to replace your phone. Have you seen that now with the new Apple Watches that you can literally like leave your phone somewhere miles and miles away and never? That might be the only thing that gets me to wear one.
Okay.
But why otherwise do we need maybe pocket watches?
I think it's just style.
Well, it's definitely style.
It's just style. That's it.
Does that mean we have no style, or does that mean?
I don't know.
But socks, you're a socks guy.
But well, let's not go there yet.
Okay.
Because clearly right now for ties,
right.
You have no tie. I have a tie. Now what we didn't put on the list was jacket guy.
Ah.
See, I'm not a jacket guy.
Interesting. So you like tie but no jacket.
Tie, no jacket.
Tell me about that.
You're a no tie jacket.
I'm a no tie jacket guy. See, I was told, and tell me what you think about this. I was told by a fashion psychic? No, fashion guru sort of person that said, ties typically feel like in Southern California that you're going someplace, whereas no tie looks like you've already arrived. I don't know if that's true or not. It was one person's opinion,
but it feels right.
It felt right, and plus I don't like wearing ties, so that it's stuck for me.
Oh, I think we're live.
Are we live?
Nice. We're having a Seinfeld conversation to start things off here. Not watch guys.
Not watch guys.
I'm a tie guy, no jacket guy.
Yep.
You're a jacket, no tie guy. Socks.
Absolutely, and it's got to be something. Rock 'em. It's got to be something fun. What do you?
Let's put them up there.
Can we show them? What do we got today?
Put up your Dukes.
What do you got?
Oh, I like the red, white, and blue, but can you taste that?
That is very that is very cool. So this way. That's the shot to start the show. There you go. Right?
That's the screenshot.
Just two guys with their feet up on the table, just showing off. But you coordinate well with the shirt, which works. So.
I do try to do that.
Yeah.
So I won't buy you a watch for Christmas.
Nope.
I might get you a tie.
So here's the question. So to tie this into kind of the business world, they always say people judge you in the first, 30 seconds, 60 seconds of being there. Do you think that if people have their biases, ties, socks versus watches, someone looks at you and they meet Derek and they go, I like the socks, I think he'll be okay? Do you think people have that either subconsciously or actual conscious thought?
No. But
hey, I just put it out there.
But I will say that I don't play to people's initial judgments.
Interesting.
I don't play to it. So if it's, because a lot of times, like if you'd come in here and had a meeting with me yesterday, in fact, someone I met with yesterday said, you just come back from the gym? Because I had tennis shoes on and, you know.
Did you come back from the gym?
Shorts? No.
Okay.
They weren't gym shorts. They were like pants, but they're like, relaxed pants. And
like sweatpants?
So, kind of, but not.
Dressy sweatpants.
Dressy sweatpants, yes. So I'm a dressy sweatpants guy.
That's okay.
Just check
it.
So he did say that, but I try to overcome whatever the initial impression is with reality, with actual content or value.
Interesting.
So I do not care. If it's a case that, like, for example, if I was in real estate and you and I are going for the same listing, and they're like, well, we like Jesse, he's more professional, he had a coat and tie on and stuff like that. Right. Okay, cool. If I can't overcome that one thing with my own value and content, then I don't have very much value and content to offer. So I am constantly beating back the initial impression, because I've never been a guy who dresses up a lot. This is as much dress up.
I said, you for a guy who doesn't dress up, you look very dressed up now.
As dressed up as it gets. You notice I can't survive with long sleeves. I won't live.
It's got to be rolled up.
So that's about as far as it goes.
Interesting.
So I try to overcome that, and it's worked.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that you're setting it up to be more challenging for yourself, but yet you are setting it up just that you want the value to come from something other than that initial first appearance. I don't want
to play to that.
Right.
I don't like the idea of playing to it. Now, some people love suits.
Right.
One of my good buddies you see on the show all the time, Mortgage Geek Sean Cahan.
Yep.
He's always in a suit.
Yep.
Always. He loves it, but that's who he is.
Right.
So he's not playing it. He's not saying I'm wearing my suit because people need to see a banker as a suit guy.
That's just who he is.
That's just who he is.
Even on his free time, he's a suit sort of.
He's a suit guy.
I have a friend actually whose nickname is Suits. He's in real estate up in Northern California, and we used to joke that literally he has like 5 kids, that he probably has all his kids in little suits. And sure enough, he posted a picture on Facebook of his family at the beach. And I don't know if he did this because we kept giving him a hard time. But literally, they were all lined up on the beach in little suits. It was, and just like he was like day hang, and it wasn't like a family shot. It was like, we're just hanging out at the beach today, but we happened to be hanging out in suits.
It's the 1920s again. See?
Exactly. Exactly.
Now listen here, put on your clothes. See, it's the only clothes I have.
Exactly.
All right. We've learned a lot about one another now.
We have. Where have we gone with this?
We're just like, oh, well, we're live or whatever. So we are live. So if you want to comment, if you want to say hi, we'd appreciate you saying hi. We'll give you a shout out back. If you have a question for Jesse or myself, holla.
Particularly not about ties or suits, or more about probably some of the other.
Whatever.
But anything.
If you want to know where I get these snazzy ties, I'll tell you. But you got to ask. So major disruptions in the real estate industry.
Yep.
You and I had a conversation. We're like, dude, we got to do this. We got to put this on.
Yep.
On social media.
Yep.
We had this conversation once. It was maybe a month ago. So I loved it though, because the conversation is really there's major disruptions that have been sort of planted in the real estate industry and that are growing.
Correct.
And if you're in the traditional real estate world with the mindset of, oh, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, it's cancer that needs to be cut out, you might be positioning yourself for failure, right?
Or positioning yourself to be cut out.
Yes, to be cut out.
Right.
Because these disruptors, and we can talk about Zillow, we can talk about Redfin, the different programs that they're offering inside those organizations, the companies that are now attempting to sidetrack the whole thing. There's several of those.
Yep.
We're just saying, hey, just go consumer to consumer. It's like Craigslist for homes.
We got billboards on the freeway down in San Diego, probably on the way into the studio here. You see them on a daily basis from one of those companies. So
yeah. So major disruption there. And I think the real question is, what happens next?
Right.
So I'll give you my opinion, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, since we've talked about this a little bit, I know we don't totally agree.
Yeah.
We have very similar visions, but a little different take on it. So let's hear yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's coming, what you're seeing right now, is sort of a transformation, of technology that has obviously gotten us to a certain point, but can only take us so far. And there's no substitute for human beings, although we will talk about that a little bit today. There's no substitute for human beings when it comes to getting opinions.
Right.
This is one of the things that really good real estate agents have a lot of. Really good real estate agents will have opinions. I know when they walk into the studio and they start saying things about how stuff matches or where things are, I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Because as a homeowner, that's what you want.
Right.
You're like, hey, tell me what to do. What shouldn't do? They don't want you to say, well, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you could do that. Say, no, do this. Change the floors, fix this, do that, boom.
And that's a sense of confidence from the agent that also gives a sense of confidence in the client. You want someone to take charge because then that's why you have them. Otherwise, if they don't have opinions, then you might as well use just a robot to do this sort of thing. And if you have your own opinion as a consumer, which is part of this disruption I think you're going into, is consumers are starting to develop more and more stronger opinions of their own based on the data and information that's available to them.
100% correct. Now, the once ignorant homeowner or home buyer is empowered with information. Now, whether accurate or not,
right?
People feel comfortable and more confident, and generations below us even more so. Okay, I'm 37, so just get that out there.
38.
But my daughter, for example, or even someone who's 10 years younger than me, they will trust information on the internet a lot more than I would.
Right.
I will second check everything that's on the internet. Everything.
Didn't you do a whole segment on fake news? Isn't that part of like, if you read it on the internet, it must be true.
Right.
Yeah.
But now these are coming from somewhat credible sources.
Right.
Right. So I understand that. But what's happening is there's an absorption period.
Right.
Where where it's transitioning from sort of the old way to the new way. And that's what we're in right now. I believe it's about a 10-year transition. Once we crest and we go over and we're on the other side of that mountain and we're now downhill in the technology age for real estate, things will change. Things will be done via app.
Right.
The next generation, that group that's 10, 15 years younger than me, younger than us, is willing to do that. They'll actually prefer not to speak with someone.
They're already even people of other generations are starting to prefer not to speak to someone. So I've done phone-based sales in some way, shape, or form for the last 15 years. And I've noticed a dramatic change in 15 years. Even this is before the big disruption, this is just in consumer behavior that people don't generally want to pick up the phone prior to engaging with a professional. And once they do, even when you're going through this transaction, which is, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million volume, a lot of stuff is still done via text in 160 characters or less, which is definitely a shift. And I think the disruption that's coming leverages that sort of that sort of behavioral change in consumers. So I agree with you there.
That's sociological change, yeah. And so what is that going to do? And here's the big question as to whether or not it will be a major disruption. Because it's only a disruption if you, right now, it's only disruption if you think it's cancer and you say it's the devil, stay away from it.
Right.
But if you embrace what's happening and the way that people prefer to communicate, it may not be such a disruption for you. Right. That said, the question is, what's the value in it?
Well, the disruption, before we go into value, the disruption is the fact that you don't need as many human beings in the chain at that point. We have X amount of real estate agents now, we might have half of that volume. So when you talk about embracing the disruption or embracing the change or getting cut out when they cut you out, you have to kind of roll with it, and there'll be the certain group of agents that are left, and then what's the rest of the model look like, right? Because I do think, we talked a little about this, there'll be some sort of shift to potentially more agents being salaried, more agents being part of the corporation being the one that has the power as opposed to the agent, and then certain consumers still looking for individual agents who have that market knowledge, those opinions, that confidence, that still manage to not only exist but actually grow their business as this disruption happens.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that's what's happening. So, I mean, that's the Redfin model. Essentially, it's corporate real estate.
Right.
Right. So now, and before all the Redfin people start yelling at me, which they like to do, even though I love the Redfin website. In fact, it's the only website I would use to look at real estate. We
have clients who send us things from the Redfin app and then still work with us. Right. So their technology is great.
It's unbelievably 100%. Amazing.
Yep.
But you cannot argue with the fact that their business structure is corporate. It's corporate real estate.
Correct.
That's how they're set up.
Correct.
So, the agents are employees and they make less money, but they get more deals because they don't have to do marketing, and so it's a different kind of beast.
Right.
But people do like it, yet at the same time, and if someone does work for Redfin, please let me know the exact number here. But at the same time, they've only got like a 3 or 4%, last time I checked, last time I heard, is 3 or 4% market penetration in San Diego.
Very small.
It's a really, really small amount. So even though their website is clearly the best out there, even though they have lots of offerings for discount this, refund that, even though most people know they exist, who are looking for a home or selling a home, you can still only penetrate so much.
Right.
Which leads me to believe that it is still dominated by a relational business
100%
model.
100%.
Real estate is still a relational business. I do think that is the thing that's going to transition, though. It's going to be more transactional in the future. I think that's what's changing.
Right.
That's the disruption, that the technology brings that.
Right.
And so if you're an agent who isn't recognizing that, if you're saying, but I want to have a relationship with you, client, and the client's going, I don't care. I just want to buy a house. Just shut up and show me homes.
Right.
If you don't realize that's what's happening, if you don't embrace that might be happening with a certain demographic that's coming up, and you go, well, I only work with clients who want to have a relationship with me, who I can be best friends with, then you may have a problem with this disruption that's coming.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Fully agree. And I think where the relationship comes from then, my opinion, is from market knowledge. So we actually rebranded our company to be Live, Love San Diego Homes, and when we niche down in different neighborhoods in San Diego to go super hyper local, and we're just starting to develop that local presence in different communities, because that's where I think when the model changes and people aren't looking to be your best friend, there'll still be people who are your friends, I'm sure. Not to say you won't have friends or I won't have friends, but in general they want a transaction. And as you unbundle the services in that transaction, I believe that having that local knowledge is what creates that relationship and being tied into the fabric of the community. So it's not just that like they're your friend and you're going to go take them out for a drink or go out to dinner or whatever. You go bowling, fishing, whatever real estate agents do with clients now, right? Do we go bowling and fishing with our clients?
Why did those two things come up?
I don't know. I don't bowl or fish very often, but those are things you would think about, that it becomes more dialogues around. I mean, it's almost old school in a way, but events in the community, things like that, because you can get, and Redfin, I don't think is, obviously it's not the answer, or else they would have a lot higher market penetration if that was it. And I think it might come down to the experience that's created, so they get the transactional piece, but there's still something that's missing from the experience that, or else everyone would be using them.
I think they will develop it though.
Yeah.
Redfin's not done figuring out their model.
Okay.
They're not. They just went public.
Yep.
So they're not done figuring out their model. Now they're going to spend a few years working on profitability because they are public, and initial shareholders have to hold on to the shares for a certain period of time. So there's a lot of motivation to get that share price up.
Yep.
So they're going to be working on profitability versus growth, which is what they've been working on the previous 5 years or whatever.
Yep.
So things will change there. I think they will get more efficient. I think they will listen to people, their customers, and they will get better. But they are positioned to be the person who comes in with the big game changer. Boom.
Right.
Here it is.
Or they're trying to position themselves to
They're
do that.
already positioned for it.
Right.
Because they have the technology, they have the eyeballs.
Right.
They just haven't found it yet. What is it exactly that we need to do to punch through this wall?
Do you want to tell them? What do you think's missing?
I don't know. It's probably something that seems small and obvious.
Right.
So small and obvious that they're missing it. They're trying to do all these different things, refunds, discounts.
Right.
That isn't the way. But that's what they're doing because that's the obvious thing to try first.
Right.
That's not working. It's something else. It may be the relational component. It may be assigning, a person to every buyer, or every seller. One person.
Right.
To every buyer or seller is like, this is
Your
the
person.
concierge. Yes,
Right.
you don't talk to anyone else.
Right.
But this person, they do everything for you.
Right.
And then you have that could be it.
And that's more of the unbundling approach then, right? So that's what I think where one of the disruptions, because there might be a few disruptions, will come is with technology, you have the ability to unbundle the pieces in the real estate transaction from finding a home, writing offers, negotiating. Each piece, which is traditionally in the olden days, were handled by a single individual. Mm-hmm. And then we have teams, which now we have these mega teams, which are 10, 20, 100 people on a team. But if it really does switch to more of this corporate real estate model, I think you'll see further unbundling. So maybe it is that having that one person, which is your point of contact, and then the rest of it's handled in the background, and you don't care how it happens. It doesn't matter as long as it works.
Right.
Right.
That could be, and that's one of those things that's so simple and obvious.
Right.
It's like you have all these things going on in the background. Don't involve the client in that.
Right.
And have the client just speak to one person, get all their answers from that one person.
Yep.
And that one person can go chase down answers that they don't have readily available to them.
Right.
It could be something like that. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it could be something that simple. But Redfin is positioned to be there. Now check this out.
Okay.
Because I think everyone knows that Zillow has been positioning themselves to do something big.
Yep.
Zillow buys Redfin, which could happen.
It's possible.
Yes, or the other way around.
Right.
But it looks more likely Zillow would buy Redfin.
Okay.
So let's say Zillow buys Redfin. Now what? Now you have one entity that owns almost all of the digital real estate search space.
Huh.
Almost all of it. They also would have Trulia.
Okay.
So it would be Zillow, Trulia,
Yep.
Redfin, all of the three big ones. Now Realtor.com is obviously out there, not nearly as big as those.
Right.
But that's where all the main search traffic is.
And the search traffic isn't, by the way, people don't pick just a certain site. Typically, they utilize multiple sites through the course of the process. And so there's been you probably know this, but there's been a 5-fold increase in the amount of online requests generated over the last couple of years, whereas the amount of homes that have been sold is the same. So it's not like we're selling 5 times as many houses. People just are requesting more information online in all the major portals like the Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. And so some of that traffic overlaps. So if they do control all of that, interesting, continue. All right, so they now own even a piece of almost every eyeball, right,
Yes.
that's out there. Okay, then what happens?
Then all they have to do is figure out what that one little piece is.
Right.
To transition everyone from this old way
Right.
to the new way. One of the things that they can look at and learn from, like from a Redfin perspective, is it's not cost.
Right.
That's not it.
Yep.
You'd think it would be, but it's not. It hasn't done anything. It looks good on paper, but it's not something that's driving people.
Right.
It's just not, which is really interesting. Which means that there is a belief that you get what you pay for.
Yes.
And there is, and you've heard that's one of the oldest cliches.
Right.
It may not be true. It could be that you get way more value selling your home with Redfin, but
I think
how do you determine that? And
I think it actually has to play in a little bit into, I hate to say it, but into fear. Because if half the time you do get more value with Redfin, because in a super easy transaction where everything goes smoothly, maybe you do get more value out of Redfin. But it's, what if your transaction is not the smooth, easy one? And I don't know if I necessarily believe that you do get more value out of Redfin. I'm just playing devil's advocate, right? Sure. What if your transaction is not the smooth, easy one? And I think it's the fear in home buyers, home sellers, because it's such a large transaction that that's still, there's not a faith in this new model, whatever the new model is, that it's going to take care of every eventuality and do as good a job as someone who actually is 100% committed to their interest, which is what you're talking about in this model. Maybe that's the solution, is say, here is one trusted person, but that person has to be a fairly experienced, well-compensated person, or else they just won't care. It's hard to have an employee who cares because they're still going to have a job. You know, they care, but only to a point typically.
Yeah, the interests aren't as aligned.
Correct.
You know, it's kind of like when you, and this is an extreme example, when you go to the DMV,
yep.
that person on the other side is getting their paycheck on Friday.
Right.
Regardless of what your experience is like.
Correct. And probably going to get it for the next 10 years no matter what.
They're not getting fired.
Right.
So that's what happens. That's
right.
an extreme example. And that's what you have to try to avoid.
Right. And if we have people from the DMV watching, by the way, I do see that we have some comments, but if we do have people from the DMV watching, we love you. You guys are awesome. Next time we come in, make sure that, you know, just checking.
All right. I always get an appointment.
Right.
Jose says, openlistings.com is a major one that I've seen as of late.
Yes.
Do you know anything about that one?
Yeah, actually.
Thanks for the comment, Jose. Appreciate you
absolutely.
watching.
So Open Listings is another hopeful disruptor. They are playing with a model where I believe they give 50% of the commission back to the client. Again, I haven't seen wild market penetration in terms of market dominance, but they're doing the same concept of Redfin, only they took on an approach of a little bit like Uber. So instead of hiring their own agents in-house the way Redfin did, they just find freelance agents, agents that work at other companies but have spare time, right, so to speak. They're not being fully utilized. So like in Uber, where you have people sitting around with cars, Open Listings, or Open Door? Open Listings, there's two of them. Open Listings, they basically say, hey, you want to go see a house? We'll blast it out to our pool of people. Whoever claims it first gets to go show it, and I think they pay $25 to the agent for going to open the door. And now I'm wondering if I'm talking about Open Door or Open Listings. There's too many of these that sound similar that and we can say, I want to say that's Open Listings, but.
Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Right.
Like, okay, so kind of like Uber, but okay, you have a car and you have a real estate license,
right.
so here we go.
Correct.
Let's giddy up.
Right. And so there, again, I think this ties into the fear component, which is maybe you get someone good, maybe you don't care. So the consumer's currently using that, they don't care. They believe they have the information they need. And so there's always going to be the percentage of people who are the do-it-yourselfers, right? We have Home Depot, which turned into a huge industry based on people who want to fix the house themselves, right? And so I think you will always have do-it-yourselfers, but as this movement grows, we're going to see it won't just be the do-it-yourselfers. It might become the norm where they say, no, this is just how you do it. And it'll be the small minority of people that still say, no, we'll give a higher level experience, like travel agents.
Yeah.
I hate to compare real estate agents to travel agents, but I think there's some similarities there where the majority of travel agents that were in business 30 years ago, what are they doing today?
Very good question. I have a great travel agent, by the way. Amazing.
Okay.
Which I can tell you about, but
yeah.
real quick, Home Depot and Lowe's, both big buys. And a part of the reason is because they get a lot of the commercial business too.
Yep.
A lot of commercial construction, which is going to be through the roof this year. You know, they get their supplies and their tools and stuff from Lowe's and Home Depot, so those stocks will much higher this year.
Good
My travel agent is amazing.
Okay.
Her name is Gina Smith with Fiesta Travel in Orange County.
Okay.
And
tell us why Gina's amazing, because this is an interesting analogy.
She is amazing, and this is the reason why I like using her, because the first few times I went overseas, I had to go and try to figure out all this stuff myself. Like, okay, I'm going to get my tickets in here, then I need to take a train from here to here, and I got to book hotels, and it was really stressful. Like for a whole evening, I was like 5 hours, like getting everything. Like, okay, do I have it from here to there? All right.
At first, it was fun, right? For the first like 20 minutes, you're like, "This is cool. I'm taking a trip," and then.
Once you buy the flights, it's like, okay, we're committed. Now we better be able to find hotels. Like, what do you get first, the hotels or the flights? And like, so it was just trying to figure all that out. And it was really stressful. And then the next time I got referred to this lady, and someone was like, yeah, you should use her. She takes care of all that stuff. And I was like, please, okay, cool. I'm thinking it's going to be more expensive, but so what? I don't have to worry about it. She gets me way cheaper deals, coordinates everything. Gets me rides to and from the hotels and airports and everything. You know, the person with your name, like, hey, you know, Mr. Evans. All that stuff for way less than I can get. For example, a week from tomorrow, we're leaving for Italy.
Okay.
Me and Tanya are spending, my fiance, are spending a little over, I think it's 8 days in Italy for $4,500 total.
Wow.
Between the two of us. That's flights,
Yep.
hotels, transportation to and from, train from Venice to Florence, train from Florence to Rome, everything.
Cool.
$4,500.
That's awesome.
It's incredible. It's insane. So she has these massive discounts to these different travel packages and stuff, and she gets perks because she books tons of travel through these places. So she has all these points. And she gave us a first-class upgrade on an international flight the last trip we took for free.
Cool.
Just because she had so many points. She's like, here,
No, I want to call her.
Dude, I'm telling you, don't ever travel without this woman.
Okay.
Always use her.
Okay.
It's unbelievable. And then we found out, I didn't realize that, like, I think the week we come back, the Monday is President's Day.
Right.
So I was like, oh my God, why are we coming back on Saturday? Because I thought I needed a day to, like, get caught back up and stuff. I'm like, we could come back on Sunday.
Yep.
So I emailed her, I'm like, Gina, can we please stay an extra day in Rome? And she's like, okay, but it may cost a bunch of money. She got the flights changed for no cost.
Wow.
Delta would have charged me $300 a person just to change, and then would have had to pay the difference.
Huh.
She got them changed for no cost, and just had to pay an extra day of hotel.
Wow.
So we get to spend an extra day in Rome for $170. So there is value in that, and but see, I'm the old school guy who likes that, right?
What do you mean by old school?
I'm the old school guy who I want to talk to someone.
Right.
I want a human being that is my person, that is going to handle and help me out, and someone that I trust and that that I believe in.
Is it possible the pendulum might swing the other way though? Because right now we're going to no one wants to talk to anyone, right? You just want it to be transactional. But as our whole society shifts over to that way, is it possible we might swing back the other way, that as our millennials get older, they actually want someone to take care of everything? Like there's certain parts they don't want to talk to anyone, and certain parts they actually want someone to do that?
100%.
Okay.
You'll notice now when you call a big company, it's very difficult to get a person on the phone. When you do get a person on the phone, typically they are not in the United States, and it is obvious. So the difference there is if you can be the company that's like, no, we're here in the US of A, and we will answer the phone when you call.
Yep.
Then you immediately, I think, have a huge advantage. Like if I try to call even my healthcare provider, who is probably the easiest to get a hold of all the people I call an 800 number for, it's still like, it's not like someone answers the phone. I have to go through a menu tree and all these different things. So I do think what happens is, as as everyone sort of swings in one direction, people who stay good at what they're doing and are okay with that, and like, cool, if that's what you want, that's cool, this is what I provide, will have a cult following. Right. Sort of like Gina with Fiesta Travel in Orange County. She has a cult following. I mean, when I got referred to her, it was like, you have to use this woman, and I'm telling you, you have to use this woman if you want to book travel. It is a mistake if you don't. It will cost you money.
And that's a cult following. I mean, that is you are a raving fan.
I am a raving fan of hers.
And you were probably referred to her by someone who was also a raving fan.
Correct. Yeah. Now, her industry is supposedly dead.
Right. And so that was my point to the analogy, to bring it back to real estate. Is there an analogy there, right? Because her industry dramatically changed. It was entirely disrupted. It probably took a little bit of time to shake out. I don't know if she was able to immediately just create this new model, but now she still has a place. But there's probably a lot less Ginas than there were 15, 20 years. How many years ago do we have to go back to travel agents? 20 years ago?
A while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say 15.
Right. So 15 years ago, there's probably a lot less Ginas than there were 15 years ago.
There are, but also right down the road here, when you leave the studio today and you go, I can't remember what the name of that road is, right? Scranton, Scranton and Mira Mesa, right there on the left, Balboa Travel has that whole building.
Oh, yeah.
They have that whole building.
Yep.
So it's the transition, the shift, if there is a macro one that we can look at, it is from a quantity to quality shift. If you really look at it for just what it is and put no bias to it, what's happened is the shift has gone from quantity to quality. And the reality is most travel agents could not provide a quality enough experience to best Expedia. Right. Expedia was providing a better experience than most of the travel agents were.
So here's a question now to keep talking about Gina, because I think it's a great analogy to the real estate industry.
Yes, and by the way, Greg, Kara, and James, I see your comments. Thanks for saying what's up. We will definitely get to all the questions. If you want to say hi, we'll say hi back. This is live right now, so we'll get to all your questions shortly.
Awesome. Do you like Gina on a,
Yes.
like on a relational level?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I've never met her in person.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
Yep.
But she is in Orange County.
Yep.
We have talked on the phone a couple of times.
Right.
But almost entirely, so this is where it's interesting.
Yep.
Almost entirely through email.
Interesting. And you're an email guy, right?
I'm definitely an email guy.
And so what is it about the nature of her emails? Does she put something personal or her own, is it feel authentic? Like what is it about it that, other than the fact that she saves you a lot of money, which you like, but it sounds like you truly like Gina also. So I'm curious
Well, it's just that she gets it done. I mean,
Yeah.
so like, for example, I say, hey, we're thinking about taking a trip. So we booked this trip like 8 months ago.
Yep.
That's kind of how we roll.
Yep.
We're like, we book a trip
Okay.
way out in advance,
Yep.
get it super cheap, and then pay it off. And once it's paid off, we look to book the next one. So
Yep.
we always want to be traveling
Yeah.
3 times a year. And so I reach out to her and I say, Gina, we're thinking about going to this area.
Yep.
Thinking maybe these 3 destinations. Can you put something together for us? Maybe 2 days here, 3 days here, 2 days here. And then she'll just send me a list of like, here's what I came up with. Here's what it would cost, and she'll have it broken down. You'll stay at this hotel. You'll go from here to here at this time. She'll have it all right there. So I can look at it and go, well, that looks pretty good. Hey, let's spend an extra day over here. I've been looking into it. I think there's more to see there than we
Right.
thought. And, and I'll just massage it for her. And then she has my credit card on file. And
So it sounds like what you like is she operates in the mode that you want her to operate in when you want her to, and she gets it done.
Yeah.
I mean, really, okay.
yeah, she gets things done quickly, easily. It's simple. It's simple.
Interesting.
Doesn't do anything crazy.
Okay.
But she provides a good service
Yep.
at a good price, and I can communicate with her
Yeah.
about what I need, and she responds to that. So it is interesting that it's an old school kind of one-on-one connection,
Right.
but it is via email, and that could be we may have solved, if anyone from Redfin is watching,
Possible.
that may be what it is they need to solve for.
Right.
Is that. It's like people might be totally cool with using an app or using text or using emails to do the real estate, but I think they need one person to
Right.
talk to, and I think that's where a traditional agent like yourself
Yep.
is winning the battle big time right now.
Right.
Like it's a battle right now that is getting won by the traditional agents in a major way, and although you may see things like Redfin or some of these other brokerages are doing well, how many discount brokerages open up and close down?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. Remember the I Pay One Center?
I Pay One. There's a bunch of them.
Right.
There's a whole bunch.
But that was our sports arena for a while. I just think it's
Yes.
funny that was literally it was the I Pay One Center and then it was not.
Yeah. Yes. And I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I didn't know what it was. The brand wasn't a good one.
No.
Let's be honest.
There's a lot of lessons to be learned, I think, from the branding back on that one. But that's
Yes.
Agreed.
Let's jump to some of the questions here. So Jose, again, thank you for your comment. James, what's up, James?
James.
If you live in a low inventory neighborhood with a nice home and you're basically just fielding multiple offers, why not use a Redfin, for example? Low inventory neighborhood with a nice home, you're basically just fielding multiple offers. Well, good question. I'm going to let you answer that one, Jesse.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I would say, James, if you live in a low inventory neighborhood, you got to ask yourself, I mean, it is a legitimate question, right? Is a traditional agent going to maximize anything over a Redfin? And so the question would be, is the Redfin agent able to take all of those multiple offers and get a higher net price in the end during the negotiations, through anything they do? Why not at that point just sell it on your own, I guess would be my question, right? If you live in a neighborhood with low inventory, why not just stick a sign in your front yard, pop it on Zillow, whatever else you want to do, and sell it without an agent? So there's that level of how much knowledge do you have on your own? What's your background and expertise as the homeowner? A lot of the stuff that we do as agents can be done these days by other people. It's just a question of where does that level of expertise stop, and when do you need a professional in there? I don't know if I have
You would say sell it on your own versus Redfin?
I'm just posing the question: why not sell it on your own versus Redfin?
So what value are they providing?
Right. What value? So if you're going to go that away from the traditional model and say, well, if you're in a low inventory neighborhood, why not use Redfin? I would say, why not sell it on your own? The same reasons of why you wouldn't sell it on your own, because there are, again, the do-it-yourselfers who say, I will sell it on my own. And to them, I'll say, I will tell you what to do. Go for it. Really, if you can do this on your own, more power to you. I have this conversation with people often. The people who want to do it on their own, I respect it. I do. Go for it. But if you're going to say, well, I don't want to do it on my own, what are the reasons why? You're looking for expertise. You're looking for market knowledge. You're looking for negotiation skills. You're looking for things that come up in the transaction that could cost or save tens of thousands of dollars. And these aren't things just that are fear-mongering that real estate agents say they are. I could tell story after story of legitimate things that come up in transactions that could cost or save, they cost someone or save tens of thousands of dollars. And this is why I think people end up still, even in markets with low inventory, they still choose to hire a traditional agent versus a Redfin. It's a good question, though.
It's a good question. What I would suggest, James, on something like that is to say, interview 3 agents and have one of them be Redfin.
Absolutely.
And see for yourself. Like, it's not a one-size-fits-all answer to these questions. Like, because everyone thinks they live in a low inventory neighborhood where their home is going to get multiple offers.
Well, most of them do live in a low inventory neighborhood.
They do, but everyone thinks they do.
Right.
Right.
But with multiple offers, though, it has more to do with the pricing of the house than the fact that there's no inventory. If we live in a neighborhood, just use an extreme example, where the average price is $500,000 and all the houses are the same and they're all about $500,000, and you think, well, I own a home here and there's not much inventory, I'm going to price my house at $1 million. Well, you're probably not going to get multiple offers because people are going to think you're insane.
Crazy, yeah.
Right, they're going to think that they have no idea what you don't really want to sell your house. And actually you see that on Zillow with the Make Me Moves. That's the for sale by owner section of Zillow, where people say, yeah, I'll sell my house if someone gives me $3 million. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Right? So I think the multiple offer, but continuing, could you do that? Sure.
I would say, yeah, definitely.
I like the idea of interviewing. Why not interview Redfin and interview 2 other people to see if you can actually differentiate in your mind what is the value add, what is different? Because I've talked to a number of people that have interviewed Redfin that have ultimately ended up working with either us or a traditional agency, and sometimes they end up working with Redfin. That's just the nature of how it is. The people who gravitate to Redfin, I really think Redfin, they do a lot of the same things on the surface, where they take photos, they do the Matterport 3D tours, they do all these things. It's then, what do you do with those things? And if your house is going to sell with multiple offers in a few hours, I hate to tell people this because I get paid to help people buy and sell homes, but stick a sign in your front yard and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Right? Really, like just try it out and see. Like, you'll either sell it in a day and you'll be like, wow, that was actually easier than I thought. Or you go, or people end up getting overwhelmed and say, this is not what I expected, and then we end up getting phone calls.
Yeah, I would also say, don't be afraid to negotiate with a traditional agent.
100%.
Well, and just tell them, like, here's the deal. Here's what works for me.
Yep.
And if they say, you know what, I can't make that work,
right,
then okay.
Or if they can't illustrate their value. The same way you said at the very beginning, if people have been watching us for this whole time, right? You were talking about, you don't dress for the part, right? You just dress as you are. Right. And then you prefer that your value speaks for itself. When you're interviewing someone, you're going to see if they actually provide some sort of value that seems legitimate, or if you're thinking, dude, I don't get it, like, then negotiate. And if you can come up with something that works, 100% for any of the people watching, to negotiate with your agents. By law, all commissions are negotiable.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where you can say, hey, what about this?
Right.
Could this work?
Yep.
I've seen all kinds of things negotiated. All sorts of things are possible. If I sell it for this much, you get this much. If I sell it for that much, you get that much. I mean, there's all sorts of things that could be done.
Right.
I'm not saying go overcomplicate it, but just know that it's possible to get outside of the box.
Right.
And that is a really important thing to understand when you're making this decision, because first of all, with regard to this, and this, James, has probably answered your question the best, on Win This Listing, we have shot a lot of shows. Mm-hmm. Okay, dozens of shows.
Yep.
And there have been multiple times in those shows where agents have offered a discounted commission.
How'd it go?
A massively discounted commission. They have never won the listing.
Interesting. And because I have my theory on that. What's your thought as to why?
I think, in my opinion, the reason is because we put the homeowners on that show in an environment where they have 3 agents they have to talk to.
Okay.
So I think if you're doing like one-off things, right, where maybe the homeowners have in their mind, okay, we'll talk to multiple agents, but then you're the first one who comes and says, I'll do it for like almost nothing. And then they're like, okay, I don't think we'll get a better offer than that. Let's take it.
Right.
But in my environment, they're forced to talk to 3 people. They can still choose whoever they want. Okay. But they have to hear from 3 different people. And so I think when they see the difference between someone who's willing to offer it for less, right, versus someone who's going to provide real value, right, and real knowledge, they never choose that.
Does it feel, and I'm not referencing any specific episodes, but is it feel desperate? Is that why? Because the people that you have on your show are high caliber people. Like they all are typically, good agents. So what is it about the discount commission that you think, was it that person or something in combination with that?
I don't know, but it's just never worked.
Interesting.
It has never worked.
Yeah.
Not once. So that's a very interesting sort of sociological experiment that we've been doing on Win This Listing.
Huh.
Jay, can you scroll down a little bit on there? I think I missed a couple. I just want to make sure we get everybody in. So this one, and thanks for the question, James. Really, really good. Kara, she says, using a broker will always make your life easier. I've bought and sold several homes, and it's very stressful. Make your life easier and get a broker. Yeah, I mean, and people always have mixed experiences in real estate because there are a lot of agents that are new or inexperienced or that don't do very much business. And that's the reason why we created Win This Listing in the first place.
Because there's a very low barrier of entry to becoming a real estate agent. A couple $100 and a few months online and you can become a real estate agent. And you post on Facebook, hey guys, I'm now a real estate agent. And then you end up selling your house for your cousin.
Yeah.
And not that has to be a bad thing, but it
doesn't have to be a bad thing.
But it doesn't make it a good thing.
It's not necessarily a good thing inherently. Thank you for the comment, Kara. And we are live right now on Facebook, so if you want to say what's up, say hi, ask a question. We'd love to hear from you. Greg says, powerful endorsement for Gina with Fiesta Travel. That's right, Greg. Gina with Fiesta Travel in Orange County is amazing. She's just an amazing travel agent and proof that the industry isn't dead.
Right.
A lot of the industry is actually very alive and well. Travel agency, Expedia, now owns everything. They own Orbitz, hotels, blah, blah, blah. They own all of it.
So it doesn't matter where you go.
Doesn't matter which one of those, Kayak, all those sites got absorbed into the Expedia family. And so that business is still doing really, really well. It's just mostly technology based. There's a lot less people involved. It's mostly online, apps. But there are still people out there doing the hustle.
Right.
There is still Balboa Travel. There's still Fiesta Travel. There's still, other companies like that. So I don't think we're talking about something here that is going to change the face of the industry. I think that is still needs to be the same, and that's kind of proof in the pudding with Redfin. The traditional agents are winning the battle because they put a face.
Right.
And Redfin is still is a company, and people like to do business with people more than they like to do business with companies. But this next generation of people who are more apt to use an app and to trust something that their friend told them about.
So this is something interesting that ties in. If you want to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence,
I think we should.
Okay, because I think this ties into the whole big picture. And there was a really interesting study that I forget which one of the big companies was playing with this, but there's a number of big players in artificial intelligence, and they had found that people will tell when I say robot, I'm talking about an artificial intelligence, machine. They will tell a robot certain things that they would not tell to a human. And because the robot doesn't have biases and doesn't have preconceived notions, in a lot of ways, they did one test where and we're just at the early stages of artificial intelligence for real estate. But they did a test where the AI was going to pick out potential homes for a person versus a trained, seasoned professional with years of experience to sit down and listen to a client and say, let me pick out the right homes in the neighborhood for you. Not spoiler alert, right? Guess who won this contest, like hands down, over and over and over again?
I have an idea.
Okay.
Traditional agents.
What?
But
no, it was the robot.
It was the robot.
The robot won.
Really?
That's what's surprising is that the robot, because the traditional agent who should have done a better job, who should have known the inventory, the problem is we don't really have all the data keyed in yet, that every little factor in a listing isn't mapped to where a robot can read it all. But if we get to that point where the robot can understand dark house versus light house versus, bright kitchen versus dark rooms, things like that, the robot, because it didn't have preconceived notions and seemed to listen better than the average agent, and now I'm sure you have specific agents that can transcend this, that do have amazing listening skills, that do know their market inside and out and will nail it. But they just took, again, not junky agents, but decent agents, and the robot did a better job of saying, here, you'll like these 3 houses, versus the person saying, you might like these 3.
Wow.
Interesting.
That is really interesting.
Right.
Now, I've always said that agents don't have to be concerned about artificial intelligence. I could be wrong, until the appraisers get replaced.
Ah.
So once they replace appraisers with artificial intelligence, now think about this. What if you send, someone writes a program, and this person is probably alive today who's going to write this program. Right. There might be a little kid right now. They're probably going to write this program. Where the Matterport, you go in and do the Matterport, scans the whole house, and then the appraisal just prints out.
Yeah.
Here it is. And because they've got enough data to be able to say, okay, we Matterported the house, so we know everything. We know exact square footage, we know this, we know that, and plug that into a model, You may have to have a human input, like condition or a couple little things,
Right.
little variables, and then that thing spits out an appraisal. Brrr, here it is, appraiser's not needed anymore.
Interesting.
When that happens, now it's time to get concerned. Because you've now eliminated the first human
Right.
from the equation that has always played a vital role, that everyone has always said, well, you'll never be able to do automated
Right.
appraisals. These estimates are just estimates.
They're wrong. Right.
Yeah, they're not accurate.
Right.
If that changes and the banks say, no, we believe the robot, enough to give you the money.
Right.
When that happens, now you have problems.
Interesting.
Because now what'll end up happening with that, when that comes about, and it will come about, they will database all that stuff.
Right.
So when they dollhouse when they Matterport dollhouse your home the first time, that will go into a database. Now they'll know.
Right.
Okay, this is what this place looked like back then. And the next time they come out to do the appraisal, they'll be able to see, has the condition changed? It'll be able to scan for certain things.
Right.
Damage, movement, has this changed? Has the slab shifted? It will know that shit. Okay.
It'll know the house is falling down.
It will know.
It will, actually, yeah.
It will. Because it'll be able to measure within a micrometer of where the windows were last time versus this time. So when that happens, then you're going to start to see things change in a major way, because now the computer, the artificial intelligence, will know a lot more about the homes in the neighborhood than the agents will.
Interesting.
Because they'll have been in all of them, and it'll be able to download the information and access it all immediately.
Right.
Oh, we know what you're looking for? Okay, plug it in the program.
So that brings it back to opinions then, right? You're still going to, you might need less people with opinions, but you will still need some human being to help you decipher the information or have an opinion on it if you're a consumer. If you're a bank, I mean, it's interesting. If the banks start just to...
But will that generation, by the time that happens, let's say it's 10 years from now,
will they want opinions?
Will they need a person involved or care about the opinions if you can get inside the houses?
Right.
'Cause that's the cool thing about Matterport. Like,
right.
You can get inside the house.
Right.
I mean, you basically can tell if you love the house or not. And if you still have to go there. You're never going to buy a house sight unseen.
Right.
But you can find out a lot about whether you like the layout, how it feels, does it have all the things you want, is it cool? You can find almost all of that out just by looking online. So then that
putting on your virtual reality glasses,
yes. Right? I don't know about all that. I'm not sure about that yet.
Oh, so it shrinks. So it shrinks what?
It shrinks the amount of human needed.
Correct.
Dramatically.
Correct.
And that's where things really change.
Right.
Now imagine, and by the way, I didn't give Jesse a proper introduction.
We just started talking about socks.
So,
and,
yeah.
I'm actually an artificial intelligence robot. Believe it or not. I've been brought here no.
Andrew says, not sure houses are investments. Buying and selling an investment takes a professional, not a robot. Well, it does right now.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. We're talking, Andrew, in the future, potentially, this is just talking possible futures.
Yeah, we're talking about possible disruptions.
Right.
It could be 10, 15 years out, based on current technology that exists and the direction that it's headed.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is now, with you, it's Z Team.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, Live Love San Diego Home, Z Team.
Yep. Z Team,
yep.
Okay. So your brand, if you said, you know what, I'm going to be that guy.
Right.
And you go and you get out in front of that right now, and let's say you hire a programmer and you come up with a program and you start doing things totally different.
Right.
I think that's a possibility right now to go out and get in front of where the market's headed.
Yes.
Where I think it's now harder, because Redfin is so big, because Zillow is so big, it's harder for them to zig and zag.
Right.
They have so much going on. They're a Titanic now.
Right.
I think it would be an individual broker like yourself who has the foresight, who can see where things are going, to say, you know what, let's go ahead and make this happen now.
Right.
And then we can own it.
I mean, I like it because I've had that thought about, and Matterport may not be the technology,
no,
right? We're using Matterport, to Andrew's comment, we're using Matterport as an example of one current technology in its current form, Matterport being the 3D tours that people walk through the houses. Is you're right, if we actually had good Matterports of every house that's available on the market, you don't necessarily need someone to drive around, because they always say half the houses can be eliminated from the street, right? So using Google Maps and Google Aerial, you can eliminate a lot of houses that way. If you had the Matterport, you could probably eliminate another 30–40% of them without ever needing someone. Now you don't need your person just to go open a door for you. So you're really only getting to the point where you're going to look at something at the point of Maybe it's before you write an offer, after you've written an offer. I mean, that would change the consumer behavior, but we would need that data of all these Matterports to exist. And would the agents cooperate in this, given that you need a lot less of them in the future, you know?
Yeah, it may be on the appraisal side where something like that happens first, but...
Well, if it happens on the appraisal side and then we get access to that as consumers, that still serves the purpose.
That's what I'm saying, but I think someone may need to write that program for the appraisals first so that it can actually exist and be possibility.
Interesting.
Then you have a centralized database.
Right.
That, and who would own that database? There's a lot of things you'd have to try to figure out there, but it's a possibility. Maybe it's the database is owned by Zillow.
Right.
Zillow Redfin when they merge.
And they just license the data.
Yeah.
I mean,
could be.
That's one cool thing, by the way, about AI that I really do like artificial intelligence. I think it's going to be more of a helper to the agents, not something that's going to replace agents. I think it's going to be something that's going to leverage our time to be able to help more people in the way they want to be helped. But I didn't know this up until recently. You could actually create an artificial intelligence company knowing almost very little about artificial intelligence these days. There's pay per call, they call it. So they have the IBM's got Big Blue. There's about 4 of these machines out there. They're deep learning machines where you can create with a very limited amount of programming knowledge, or you could hire a freelancer for it. You create something that will put the data in and then dig in, and every time you pull data out, it basically does. You don't need to build a machine. You don't need to create artificial intelligence. You just pay a fraction of a cent every time you use it. So we're getting this proliferation of all these startup companies. I have a few friends actually that are playing in this space that are trying to figure out how do you. It's like a little plug and play. Like where the expertise comes in is if you have someone on staff who knows how to train the artificial intelligence, then you can get responses to come out that are more human and lifelike. That's where a lot of the push is coming. I think it's so interesting to see, like, anyone could start an artificial intelligence company these days.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know how this all ends?
How it all ends?
Yeah.
Like Skynet? no, I mean, no, how does it all end?
Machines kill us all.
Okay, so it is like Skynet. I was just guessing.
For sure.
I grew up on Terminator. I remember those. Yeah.
I'm watching Terminator play out in real life every day. It is playing out. It is happening.
Right.
The machines will kill us all.
Yeah, and but I guess if you're going to go back to science fiction, this will show how geeky I am. I guess if we code in our rules for robots, right, we can make sure that they don't actually want to harm us until they figure out how to they overthrow their own coding and rules. But yeah, this is Skynet. So sorry guys, this is Skynet.
It does end badly.
This ends badly.
We've chosen to end this segment badly.
Should we end on the positive? Is there anybody with a comment more on the positive here?
Life is good. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
Be happy. That's still a long ways off.
Yes.
Not for our kids or our kids' kids. It's still ways away. We still have to work in this world.
Great grandkids that'll have to deal with it. Jesse, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Derek.
Thank you for chiming in. Really appreciate it. Stick around. More Smarter San Diego coming at you. We'll make you smarter than everyone else, guaranteed.